Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
All
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right. Welcome back to Boring Reviews. Boring land, as you like to hear it. Nick here.
Gabe.
And we are ready to jump right into episode 5, right? Episode 5 of Paatal Lok.
Cinco people.
I hesitated because episode 4 has not been posted as of date of recording this, but it will by the time this comes out, obviously. And with this show, you know, we've watched 5 episodes so far. My opinion of how much I like it has not changed, but there's been a lot of comments, a lot of this or that. So let's just clear the air real quick. We are enjoying this show. We are enjoying the story it's being told. We really enjoy the lead character, Chaudhary, played by Jaideep Alawat, and many other characters. We do not endorse or support any representations they make of any groups or religions in this in any kind of negative or false way. That is not why we're watching this show. We are not trying to send a message, a political message, or a hate message at all. We are enjoying this show. I can't think of too many shows or movies I've seen where some group or some element was not portrayed in a negative light, was not portrayed as a villain of some kind or this or that. Okay. And I can understand people that have personal feelings. Religion is very personal. It's beliefs and whatnot. That is not why we're reviewing this series. We're reviewing this series because we want to review the series. We're interested. We're enjoying the show. And so hopefully that'll clear up anything. If there's still some people that are upset or people that were saying that we're trying to promote this or that, then it's just not true. That's not our intention. But with all that being said, let's jump right into this. Episode 5 continues after Chaudhary gets suspended, after he gets blamed for all the different snafus of Mary and of Sanjeev, his press conference, but his newscast and all those different things. He gets the blame put on him, and he is suspended. And in this episode, which is titled of Fathers and Son, right. In this episode, we dive more deep into Chaudhary's life, Chaudhary's family life. We get a little glimpse of him as a child where his father is, you know, lack of a better term, he's rude to him. He's disrespectful. He beats on him. He's has high expectations.
Let me stop right there. Let me stop you right there, okay? First and foremost, it's a different generation. It's a different time. But I'm an 80s child, okay? And I grew up in the same type of generation where if my parents are struggling, I grew up in a single parent household until probably 12 or 13 when my mom got remarried. But if they put a plate in front of you, that's what you're going to eat. And I get it, like to right now that would offend the sensibilities, but you don't know if that's the only food that dad was able to put on the table, which was mutton, I think he said, and he didn't want to eat it, so he's being disrespectful to his father. Now, do I endorse, and again, child abuse or anything? But no. But back then, it was acceptable for you to discipline your children, and if your child's being disrespectful, you're gonna hit him with a backhand. That was what it was.
Lack of a better term, he was being rude. This is just my opinion. Just like we're reviewing this show because we want to. That's just my opinion. I was not raised that way. I do not raise my kids that way. I am not sitting here pointing fingers at anyone that does, but it's not the choice way to go. He hits his kid because he doesn't want to eat it. He's chasing after him. He hits him again when his kid, goes too far or whatever. Yeah. But anyways, my point is this episode digs deeper into Chaudhary's life. This episode digs deeper into where he is as a character, and he's able to see himself. There's a lot going on in this episode. He has to deal with being suspended. He's drinking a lot. He's depressed. He wants to finish his case. He doesn't feel like it's over yet in his heart, but he's being forced not to be able to. He doesn't want to disappoint his wife. He doesn't want to disappoint his kid. His kid's going off the rails, doing different things. And there's a line in this episode, without spoiling anything, because we haven't gotten there yet, where the mother, his wife, basically, calls him out and says, I know what happened to you as a kid was not right, but I don't want history to repeat itself. And basically, he is shown in a very real and very honest and sober way that he is continuing the traditions of his father on his son. Again, culturally, I can't speak to that. I was not born in any place where that might be a culture thing in certain households or a generation thing, whatever you want to call it. But for me, it's not the way I was raised. It's not the way, in my opinion, things are normally done. But with that being said,
I'll tell you something funny, right? So I'm watching this episode, and I'm watching it with Savannah, and I had a discussion with my mom because not too long ago, okay, before the whole lockdown, we used to visit my mom literally on a weekly basis and hang out. And my kids go over there, bro, and it's like the inmates running the asylum. They do what they want. Sure, you can have cake for breakfast. You can do whatever you want. And I was like, that is not how you raised us, okay? We could not talk back. We could, you know what I mean? We were raised differently. So it's one of those things where I even told my mom, like, yo, in your old age, you've gotten softer because you were a lot more difficult on us. I forgot one of my kids were in trouble for something. So when they were over there the entire time, it's like, no, you can't go hang out and play in the balcony and do whatever. You got to sit on the couch the entire time. And she was like, oh, no, it's okay. Grandma says it's okay. What do you mean grandma says it's okay? Just, superseding our authority. But my point is, my mom was a very, very, and my mom, again, she's, I'm an 80s child. So you can already see she was a 60s child, or like, I think 63. So to say that is, again, I understand that cultural, and I've lived it, you know what I mean? Now, this generation now probably doesn't subside to that anymore, and our sensibilities have changed a little bit, but the older generation, and we're just talking about one generation ago, absolutely, they would crack the whip and crack the belt, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? So I do relate to that experience, but you do see yourself becoming your parent, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily from the hitting standpoint, but just they, as you get older, things that you used to be like, oh, come on, mom, like, really? I can't go outside with my friends. I can't hang out. I can't do this or that. Now, as a parent, just the other day, my kids want to go outside, 4th of July or whatnot. It's like, okay, no, it's getting late. We left our fireworks back inside the house because I'm concerned of cops coming by because people have illegal fireworks. I'm concerned of, somebody doing something, things that I never thought of as a kid. So you do see yourself as you age and you become a parent, looking at it through a different lens. And I think to a certain extent, we all become our parents, don't we? Don't you think you in some aspects resemble your parents now?
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's certain things that you cannot help, you cannot control. And for people who aren't parents, I don't understand that. Just wait till you become a parent. There's certain things, with my dad, I see in myself many, many times, things that used to bother me when I was a kid that I do myself, and sometimes without even thinking about it. So I understand that whole thing. But I love how this episode does that character piece, does that in-depth look on him as a character, because as a showrunner, that's really smart. It has the audience get more invested in that character. Whether you agree or disagree with the way that they do things, you can have a better understanding. Just with that quick 2-minute past shot flashback of Chaudhry, we better understand him as a character. But he also has been put in time in his job. He also just got suspended from being for 15 years, finally got a big case. I mean, he's feeling a whole lot of self-guilt, and the way he's medicating is the way that he's medicating by drinking, by staring off into the water or whatever, and, kind of having a pity party, which you can understand. But I love how by the end of this episode, he brushes himself off, even though he went through a bunch of family present drama with his son. He brushes himself off, and he's still trying to take care of this case. So I told you earlier on, the son is going to be trouble, and I'm glad it didn't go farther than it was, but he is trouble. He's obsessed with that gun. His dad never lets him hold one. And as people who understand and respect firearms, the best thing is to teach your son or your daughter how to respectfully use that firearm. Right. But his son's so curious. His dad doesn't want him to use it. That's his choice. And so he gets himself where he takes the gun from the mini gangster that he's hanging around with, and he puts it in his bag. This guy is bullied. I'm not sure if he brought it to school because he was being bullied or because he just wanted to feel powerful and have that weapon with him. But he's getting bullied. He's getting harassed. He spies on some kids kissing in the bathroom or whatever. And so those kids come after him. And before you know it, he pulls out that firearm, and he's in a whole lot of trouble. And now Chaudhry's got to deal with that. And that's how life is sometimes. When it rains, it pours.
Like, luckily, he obviously had never shot a gun, so he didn't know how to work the safety, because you hear him yell and pull the trigger, but luckily nobody got shot. And obviously he didn't know how to work the safety on the gun. But what you can see is the difference between a responsible gun owner and an irresponsible gun owner. Okay, because later on in the episode, once Chaudhry takes it from him, what's he do? He locks it up in a safe. All right, when you are a responsible gun owner, you know where that firearm is all the time. The gangster or the wannabe gangster, he took the gun from,
Throws
just
it in there.
had it, in some closet unsecure. You have to be a responsible gun owner. That's my little PSA for today. But with that being said, right? Even if he's being bullied, you always have to say he looked for it. Okay, what business does he have doing spying on those two people in the bathroom kissing? Mind your business. Keep your head down. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Like this kid wants to be in the mix, and you were absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. He's gonna be trouble. And Chaudhry now has to go to school, make up this story about how he was drinking because he's undercover. He even has his friend,
his partner came through right there.
His partner exactly has to cover for him. And it's my service weapon. You know how much trouble he can make just for get into just for lying about that. So with that being said, it's one of those things where this kid, and I can guarantee you the trouble hasn't ended with him. Okay, he's just one of those kids. Then he goes home, he lays into him, and now you know why the wife is so protective of the kid, but at the same time, the kid does need some discipline. Obviously, he needs some discipline. So he's over here asking a legitimate question. Where'd you get this firearm? I need to know. I'm a cop. You had a firearm in my home. You pulled it out at school. Luckily, you didn't hurt anybody. Like, I need to know. So the kid doesn't want to talk. And he gets a little physical with the kid, and the wife gets all upset. But, it's one of those situations where I understand as a parent, again, how cautious you have to be. And one of the things I tell my kids right now, and I got teenagers, I got one in college already, is trouble is very easy to find, but it's also easy to avoid. You know what I mean? Keep your head down, mind your own business. Don't try to be in the mix. It's just that simple. And this kid wants to be in the mix. What was he doing in that bathroom looking over the stall? He should have been in class, right? What was he doing when he should have been in class?
He realizes that in the stall is his own Johnny Lawrence, his own bully. He should have ran and hightailed it out of there instead of just sitting there and being that curious kid. This kid takes no responsibility. A lot of kids are that way. Unfortunately, a lot of teenagers are that way. He sees that I can do something, but you can't do something back to me. Why are you doing something back to me? It's not really my fault. And that's the frustrating thing. And then when he gets the business from his father, he wants to control the situation. He wants to manipulate him. So he throws his head into that mirror. And the thing I love is, as angry as Chaudhry is as a father, he turns into that, as a person, he turns into that father role right away, picks up his son, literally runs him to the hospital to try to save his life. I love that, because as a dad, you still are a human being. You still get frustrated. You still have pride. But when you see your kid hurt, even if it's your own kid that hurt himself, you pick him up, you cradle in your arms, and you run to the hospital. I thought that was awesome.
That was a pretty cool scene there, because, listen, your kids are going to disappoint you. That's just the reality. I'm a veteran now. I already got one in college, to say that it's been smooth sailing. It can't be. Think about your own situation with your parents. And that's what my mom keeps telling me now. Think about when you were growing up. Think about when you were growing up. So, you know what I mean? Like, of course, but you still love him. That's your kid. And he jumped into action right then and there. One thing I did find really, really cool, and this is just a throwaway, a little scene, but it just shows us, again, the cultural difference. As he's running through, the kids were in the street playing cricket, right? And they say how cricket's so big here. It would be the equivalence of kids playing stickball here in the street, which you do see from time to time. Or you could go in any neighborhood in USA, America, pick a zip code.
I just saw 2 days ago on 4th of July, some grown men in the little street, right there playing stickball.
They're playing stickball, they're playing basketball. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. So I thought that was a really cool scene there. Then I think at this point, or the biggest part of this episode, is the investigation that's gone on.
So I was just going to say, let's shift into that part of the story.
Let's shift into
the story deals a lot with a father and sons, but there's also a lot of the investigation going on.
And in the investigation, they have found out that one of the, I like to say, the four horsemen, one of the four horsemen has a Pakistani passport. And apparently this conspiracy goes up to the upper echelon of, Pakistani intelligence. And now, it's becoming very, very political, and there's all kinds of implication going on. Now, they're saying that the apartment was rented and they found an AK-47 and guns and all kinds of stuff. The whole time, Chaudhry's not even on the case, but as a cop, he's thinking to himself, wait a minute. The Will's attorney, where'd they get all this information? It's just like the very first episode. He wanted to know something's wrong. Well, what anonymous source told you that there were 4 people that were going to kill this person? What kind of anonymous source has that kind of detailed information? You know what I mean? And the wheels start turning for him immediately. So he starts doing his own little side investigation. At the same time, his partner has been promoted. And at first, there's some strife between them. And Chaudhry doesn't understand that this is not the partner's fault. If anything, the partner is just, doing his job. And I feel like they're almost pitting them against each other by doing that. His old boss, I should say. But, he gets promoted. Chaudhry feels some kind of way about it. But like you mentioned earlier, his partner comes through from him in the situation with his son time and time again. Well, later on in the episode, there's a big press conference. They've got a big crack in the case. And
well, don't forget what spurred that press conference happening at that time was So I don't understand this. They tell Sanjeev in the investigation information they have, but you can't tell anyone. This guy is the head of a news station, for crying out loud, and his career's on the line. So he goes and he spoils all the beans. I don't think Sarah, oddly enough, wanted him to make that kind of move. He spoils the beans, and this is so random. It totally reminded me of Iron Man 3, where Tony Stark is speaking to the camera phone to the Mandarin. You know what my address is. This is my address. You can see me anytime. I'm not afraid of you. Sanjeev does the same exact thing to the ISI. He says, this is me. I'm not afraid of you. Come after me. I don't really care. And so that's what spurns that press conference by the police and the CBI.
Yeah. And he's like, the ISI, yeah. And he goes out like, listen, first and foremost, there's something going on here. Like, this guy Sanjeev is either really, really smart or really, really dumb. He's either a part of this conspiracy or not. This guy's got brass steel, okay? That's the best way I could put it. Like, the ISI, okay, is some type of government or Pakistani intelligence. Like, if they're the ones that are really after you, bro, why would you're not a head of state. You don't walk around with security like you're some type of a general in the military. You're some type of politician. You're a reporter, okay? If they want to get to you, they're going to get to you. He even mentioned in the first episode, reporters were once revered, but now we're killed, we're discredited, we're this, we're that. So I get it. He's trying to hang on to a fading career. But if it's my career or my mortality, you know what? I can find something else to do. All right. That's just real. I can find something else to do. That's just me. Okay. With that being said, I think that there's just something more to it because he's acting awful cavalier with this entire situation. So now he forces the hand of the Indian intelligence and police, and they have to have this press conference. And you can see earlier in the episode where they're investigating them all, they're interrogating them all, and they went and found this loft supposedly that was rented. They found the AK-47, they found the guns. So ultimately, it looks like the ISI set this up. One of them has a Pakistani passport. I think it's Kabir M, right?
I think so.
That has the Pakistani passport.
Because wasn't the passport where he wrote his name on it?
Where he wrote his name on it. Right. Now,
he wrote his name on it.
Right. Now, there's Chaudhry and his partner, and I always forget his partner's name.
I think it's Ansari.
Ansari, right? They're both there at the press conference. Chaudhry, I don't know if this was on purpose or it was accidentally, he drops his little notebook, which he takes notes in right next to the reporter who's been, and she picks it up, obviously, and the reporter has a connection, or we know the connection. She has an affair, basically, with Sanjeev. So you already know that's going to end up poorly. Now she's got more inside information. But with that being said, right away, you see where his partner stands, because he's like, wait a minute, you saw the look on his face when they're talking, and I even missed this. They're like, oh, that, here's the evidence, this, and that. So he leaves the room, chases down Chaudhry, and Ansari has a conversation with him. And first, Chaudhry's standoffish, I should say. And then he goes, listen, you don't understand. there's no way that that information is real. It's fabricated. It's got to be, because when I first interviewed him the first time, remember, he's Muslim, and he says he doesn't speak that language. So how did he? So how did he sign it in that? And I mean, that's the cliffhanger they leave to us on the
And
episode.
not just that, but then Chaudhry picked up on how did Tariq, write a suicide note when he was strangled to death. He got strangled to death, but then he walked back to his house to write a suicide note. I don't think so. So they both picked up on something alarming there. And like you said, big cover up. I'm so excited. I want to find out, is my theory true that Sanjeev has something to do with it? We also had talked about how Sarah has something to do with it. She seemed in that press conference, like she wanted to get more information. It could be because she wants to cover up some, or it could be because she has nothing to do with it. She just, she wanted to further her career, and that's why her whole thing is in it. But there's so much intrigue. Once again, it ends on a great cliffhanger, and this episode sets us up for more to go. You knew you were going to have some kind of emotional episode like this one, a personal episode. And those usually aren't my favorite, even though it connects us with the character, because it takes the whole episode to do that. This show, as good as it is, it doesn't just focus on that. That's a big part of it, but we also get some of the investigation. We get some of the intrigue. We get Sanjeev, flaying his feathers or whatever you want to call that, and puffing his chest out and showing how cool he is. It's not going to end well for him, in my opinion. The son's got a whole lot of it. There's so much issues and intrigue, and we're already in episode 5. There's got to be so many more answers to come.
I think that we hit the nail on the head, because from the very first or second episode, we were like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And we know that the showrunners intentionally did it that way, because we're like, even the detective Sanjeev from the very beginning is like, not Sanjeev, I'm sorry, Chaudhry is like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Where'd you guys get this tip from? How did you guys know they were going to be there? You just happen to be prepared and stand on. You know what I mean? Like it was all just too convenient. Then it seems that at every level, they've tried to stifle the investigation. So something is going on. And obviously, we just find out there's some type of conspiracy. Again, we know that Taiji and Tope are gangsters, all right? Those guys are violent, okay? Taiji has 45 bodies under him. So he is a stone cold killer. So he may or may not actually have been an assassin sent to kill Sanjeev. The other one, Mary and Kabir M, maybe they were just, sheepishly drawn into this thing. They were your Lee Harvey Oswalds, your Patsies, you know what I mean? Who knows? But we know that something's rotten in Denmark. We know that this story doesn't make sense, and that even though this story was kind of slow paced and didn't give us a lot, it gave us enough morsels to say, okay, I was right about this. Let's see where it goes. So I'm still excited to continue with the show.
I love this episode. I really do. I really did. There's just, I feel like these showrunners are very brilliant. I think they really know how to put a series together and an episode together. They build on these characters. They have opportunities to make characters look good, look not so good, and everything in between. It's so fantastic. We hope you're enjoying our reviews of these episodes. We hope you're watching this series with us. I saw one comment where someone was. I think that's so awesome. Don't forget to come back for more reviews. And we hope that you're staying safe and you're staying kind and loving to one another. And until next time,
we know all things.